Welcome everyone, Jason here again from Alliance Corp Property Experts. Got another great quick video for you. This one here is all about 5 tips for saving for your deposit quicker when buying an investment property. So why is that so important? Well, it really just comes down to the dollars. The reason why you're investing in this property is for wealth creation. Now, depending on the property, you might be generating some cash flow positive income, but really a lot of the wealth is going to come from the capital growth. So if you have a think about these two scenarios, now for some of you looking to get into the market on your first property, you might have a lower budget, but still if you're buying a property for in around 400,000 and the market is growing at say 6% per annum, we're in a rising market, well that's $24,000 that property will increase in value over the next 12 months. So the longer it takes for you to get into the market, the harder it becomes for you to generate your deposits, because obviously the deposit you'll need will grow over time, but it's also costing you in terms of that capital growth. If you've got a bigger budget and you want to get into a nicer area or a nicer property, let's say you're starting to spend $600,000, at 6% that's $36,000 per annum. So you can actually find that depending on how long it's taking you to save your deposit, you might actually be going backwards. You might save up $15,000 to $20,000 that year towards your deposit, but you've lost 36. So, in terms of capital growth. So we've just got to get in there as quick as we can. So let's have a look at these 5 top tips to actually fast track this result. So number 1, joint venture with family. Absolutely one of the best strategies that you can adopt. It is the quickest way to get into the property market, the quickest way to get started, and certainly mainly working with your parents. If you can get them on board, they might actually work with you to get into the second or the third one more quickly as well. Now to do this, you can't just go to your parents, or it could be a sibling, and say, hey, I need some cash for this, right? We've got to get them educated. You've got to go to them with a plan. We've actually got an ebook on this in terms of creating joint venture agreements, something where you can indicate to your clients or demonstrate to your clients that you've got educated, you've got the confidence, you've got a strategy, and particularly if you're working with a group like us, you've got some professional support, and we're also happy to talk to these members. The easiest way is where your parents have a home and they've got plenty of equity just sitting there, all right? So there are strategies where we can release some of this equity. They can invest with you, or they can put a caveat on the property to ensure that you don't go and sell it without their permission. You can have agreements there to share the returns in that investment property. But really, you've got to get them educated. You've got to get them on board. So we've got heaps of videos on this stuff. Sit down with them, or we're happy to have a chat with them. But by far, this is the quickest way. Because at the end of the day, as you've got to explain to your parents, like sure, they've got plans there in terms of when they retire, and eventually there's an inheritance. But what good is an inheritance to you if you're already in your 50s or 60s yourself? Particularly for your younger people, if you're in your 20s or getting started, you need the help today. So certainly these joint venture agreements with your parents or your brothers or sisters can work really well. Super track, get educated, fast track into your next purchase. Okay guys, so number 2, just aim for a smaller deposit. All right, so when you're thinking about that deposit, well, how big does it need to be? And remember, there's costs associated with that. So aim for lower costs. If you want to get into the market quicker, one of the first things you'll certainly focus on is a higher loan to value ratio. So what that means is that when you borrow to buy these properties, you're going to go to the banks to help them provide a loan. You don't want to look at an 80% loan, because then obviously you'll need a 20% deposit, which means it will take you longer to generate the deposit. So do a 90% loan. Now you're going to pay lender's mortgage insurance. It's not cheap and can be as much as 2% of the loan value, but it's worth it. Like if you're going to pay $10,000 today, but it gets you into a property 6 to 12 months sooner, well, you may have saved more than that in terms of capital growth on that property like we talked about before. You might want to bring your purchase price down, like depending on where you live. Like for example, if you live in Sydney, one of the most expensive markets, and you're thinking to yourself that you need to spend minimum of $700,000 or $800,000 or $900,000, that's crazy. Look at other markets. There are other markets around Australia where you can get into the market for as little as $400,000. It could be a small townhouse or something like that. If you do a 90% lend on that, in terms of the deposits alone, you might only need $40,000, right? As opposed to, say, buying a $700,000 or $800,000 property and needing $70,000 to $80,000, and then you've got stamp duty on top of that. You might want to consider lowering some of the costs where possible. So you can look at, for example, purchasing a house and land package. The advantage there is that if you buy the land first, you only pay stamp duty on the land component instead of the purchase price, which typically happens when you buy established properties or new or off the plan properties. So that can work out well, because depending on where you buy, again, if you're looking at a house and land package in around that sort of 400 to 450, you might only be paying, $7,000 or $8,000 depending on which state you buy, because stamp duties are different per state as well. So again, opportunity to lower some of those costs. So great strategy. Let's have a look at number 3. Be smart with your money. Now, I could go on and on. I could do a video on this for a couple of hours easy. I'll just touch on it. Real simple budget. Now, most people when we speak to that come into the office say they have a budget, but then when I drill down a little bit further, do they really? In most instances, not. So really just having a budget in place, it's just common sense, but sticking to it is incredibly important. One of the best ways to manage a budget is to pay yourself first. So often we get paid and we try to save where we can, then whatever's left over at the end of the day, we might put that away. We'll do it the other way. When you get paid, the day you get paid, pay yourself first. Work out what your budget's going to be for the next 2 weeks or the month or however you're planning it. Pay yourself into a savings account so you know that you're not going to spend it, and then obviously you just live off the rest and you just got to make it work. You've got to be really strict. It doesn't mean you have to miss out on a lot. You just got to be really smart with your purchases, and that's why buying in bulk can be really important too. Like if you're part of a big family, there's a huge amount of money you can save on groceries and things like that. And always when you do buy, just make sure you're buying the specials, because it does all add up, particularly in our family. We've got quite a big family. Sell stuff, all right? Do you have stuff in the home that you haven't used for 6 months? If you haven't used it in the last 6 months, well, maybe it's time to get rid of it. I know I've got a lot of old kite surfers in the garage that I haven't been using. I managed to collect a lot of those over the years. So throw them on a gum tree, make some money. You might want to look at generating some additional income streams. You might want to consider that if you're renting out a flat or you've got a home with a few extra bedrooms, whether you might want to consider renting out some of those rooms and generate some income. So look, I could keep adding to this. There's 50 different things that you can do to be smarter with your money, but the options are there, the strategies are out there, but it just takes discipline to implement those strategies if you want to get serious about building those deposits quicker. Let's have a look at number 4. Ask for a raise. Okay, so I'm an employer myself. I have a big team. I'm encouraging them always to invest. So one of the things that I would urge you to do is be very upfront with your boss. Make it clear to them that you don't want to raise just because you think you're worth more. Maybe you're due for a raise, maybe you're not. Explain to them that you want to get in the market, you want to become an investor, you want to set yourself up, you're saving for a deposit. They'll appreciate that. Employers, entrepreneurs themselves, they value seeing that their staff want to get ahead and go the extra mile. But also don't expect a handout either. Maybe you're not due for a raise. Maybe the only way you can get a raise is you might have to take on extra responsibilities, or you might have to work extra hours. All right, but at the end of the day, these are the decisions you need to make to really identify how serious are you and what are you prepared to do to get these deposits quicker. All right, so if it means you've got to work a few extra hours, if it means you've got to take on some more responsibilities, some more stress, it is what it is. But go to them with a plan, make it clear to them that you're prepared to do what it takes to obviously get a few extra dollars to get that purchase. As I said before, it's not just the savings that are getting you ahead, it's the opportunity cost about getting into the market sooner and getting access to some of those capital gains, etc., sooner, or cash flow positive income. But go to them with a plan. All right, be upfront in terms of what your objective is there. All right, number 5. When you're buying in the market, you've got to remember it's incredibly competitive. All right, so if you do your research and you're open to looking at different markets right across Australia, you're going to open yourself up to being able to access some incentives. So when we talk about incentives, we're mainly talking about buying new properties or off the plan properties where you're dealing with builders and developers, and depending on what's happening in the market or depending on the time, there's rebates available. Now, some of these rebates could be cash rebates, where you purchase their property. It could be certain upgrades, but really what you're interested in is anything that's going to help reduce the deposit that you actually need from the property. Then, of course, there's government incentives. Currently at the moment, there's the Home Builders Grant. Now, typically that's only available to home buyers, but then there's other states around Australia too that are offering that same incentive to investors as well. So it's not just home buyers. Also in our business, we recognise that there's a lot of young people wanting to get into the market. We see the struggle that they have, particularly as prices continue to rise. So we also ourselves have a deposit power program where we work with other groups, builders, developers, get everyone to pitch in to help reduce the amount of deposits that you need to get into the market sooner. So there's opportunities out there. You just got to do your research. You've got to make sure that they're genuine incentives. So what I mean by that is you don't want a situation where a builder's saying to you, well, look, if you purchase this particular property, we'll give you a $15,000 rebate, right, to help reduce your deposit. But you find out that all they've done is added that $15,000 to the purchase price, right? That's not a genuine rebate. We want to see that this is a discount that they're offering you, and you can do that by doing your research, looking at all the comparable sales in the area, and doing your homework. So again, this is one of the easiest ways where you can get into the market sooner and also reduce the deposits that you require to buy those properties. Okay guys, so in closing, absolutely critically important, got to get your deposits as quickly as you can, got to get into the market as quickly as you can. I've run through some strategies, but really, most importantly, what is this all about? Discipline and commitment. All right, yes, you might need to make some sacrifices. You might need to move out of your comfort zone a little bit. You've got to be very disciplined with that, and you've got to be committed. This can't be something that you try to implement a few of these strategies for a month and then it doesn't work out. It might take you a good 6, 12 to 18 months to stick to this strategy, but it's certainly going to fast track everything. So in terms of one of those strategies, doing joint ventures really sort of supercharges your results. I urge you to download the ebook on your screen. This book here is how to help your kids get into property sooner. It's really sort of written more for parents to help their kids, but you can use it in reverse because it talks about doing the JVs and how it all works, etc. So download that. For those of you who really want to understand a little bit more about the incentives out there in the marketplace to help top up your deposits, again, book in for one of our complimentary sessions with one of our coaches. It's a complimentary session. It's usually valued at $500. It runs for about 90 minutes. The guys will sit down with you, have a look at your circumstances, give you some ideas in terms of your capacity, your financial capacity, different areas, different types of properties, and all the sorts of different incentives that are potentially available out there in the marketplace. Because in our business, that's what we do. We help people build portfolios right across Australia. So quick video there, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Go to the website. We've got plenty more videos, plenty more ebooks. Get educated. The more you learn, the more you earn. Thank you.